Hi guys, it's your girl, Pro Van D, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're back. In my last video, I said that I was going to be covering at some point the cult out of Melbourne, Australia called The Family. Now, Starz, thankfully, has put out a beautiful and wonderful three-part stunner like they did with Nexium. Come on, Starz. On The Family, and it's called The Cult of the Family, and it's so good. I only have one gripe with it, but I'll share that with you later. As I promised, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to give it to you. Now, side note, in my last video, I was also drinking a wine. Now, I have found that in my increasing battle with age, cannot consume wine for some reason. It's one of my favorite things, and I can't do it. During that whole filming, just drinking one glass, I had a I had a terrible headache afterwards, horrible headache, and I'm talking about immediately after drinking. So from now on, what I will be doing when I do a video, when I'm doing reviews for movies or documentaries or other videos, whatever, I will be featuring an IPA because that's also something I love very much. And the reason being is because they're a little bit fancier than the run of your mill beer. Okay. Their IPAs are India Pale Ales. Okay. And the one that I'm featuring tonight is the Terrapin Beer Company out of Athens, Georgia. It's called Luau. I've had this one before, and it is absolutely delicious. It's a POG IPA, which means it has passion fruit, orange, and guava in it. And I'm gonna just get close. I hope my camera, yeah, see all that luscious artistry. You can't get that on no Miller Lite can. Buckle up, Susan. Buckle up, Brandy. We're about to do this. Okay. This is a trigger warning for anyone who has a problem listening to anything about abuse of children, abuse of adults, manipulation, anything like that. This is not the video for you. Telling you ahead of time so you don't get upset while you're watching it, or if you decide to watch it. Feel free to not watch or to fast forward through parts if you can't handle it. I completely understand. I will try to be as sensitive as possible when giving you the goods, but I'm gonna try my best. But this is a warning for you. Okay? Love you. Let's get into it. As all Stars documentaries, it hits you in the face. It starts immediately off with drama. It starts with the audio from the actual rescue of the children that are being held by the family. It shows the audio. You hear the audio, but it actually just is a walkthrough of the compound where the kids were held. Okay, it starts with that. Now, in saying that, I'm just going to say I did not like the fact that Stars kind of did a jumpity jump, jump, jump with the sequencing on this one. If you're not good at following, it will take you all over the place, especially for this being the first episode. Now, this first episode is called Unseen, Unheard, and Unknown. I'm looking, I have my notes here just so I don't forget anything because there is a lot to unpack. Hearing the audio is so heartbreaking. It is the worst thing to hear because it's all these children and they are literally so confused and so upset because they've been brainwashed. And we'll get into more as far as how she brainwashed these kids. It's absolutely horrendous. Enter Lex Dimon, and I hope I'm saying his name correctly. They never really actually say it out loud. It's just written down at the bottom, and it was very hard for me to get pictures of anyone other than the cult leader herself because okay. Lance Demon looks like the kind of guy that will not take no for an answer. So you could never walk up to him and be like, you know what, Lance? No, you're not going to do that. He would be like, I'm doing it. There was a call in for a child trying to start a fire, trying to burn down a school, I believe it was. And when he went to go and investigate, people there actually told him, "Sir, that young man's family is entangled with a cult." So when he asked more, they were like, they actually told him point blank, "Don't get involved. If you get involved, you'll be ruined for the rest of your life." My man Damon said no. He said, "I'm going. I'm looking at all of this. I'm digging into this. I'm going back to my supervisor and I'm going to tell him about all of this. And we're going to come back and we're going to wreck shop." And he went back and they said no.
No, sir.
They said no. No. They said it's simply a child welfare situation and we have nothing to do with that. He held on for 3 months. 3 months this man held on, and finally they gave him the go ahead to look into the family for, and I use quotes because just wait. He goes back and he's like, they told him, they were like, we're going to give you a task force and you're going to be the lead and we want you to clear this mess up. Okay? You get to investigate for criminal activity of the family. And the leader is Ann Hamilton Bird. Is that not a name? That's a name. Now, when he went and started investigating, which he did because he's that man, he investigated and he could find nothing on them. Nothing. But he did find an interview. Now, this interview is crazy because the main thing that they play in the documentary is Ann Hamilton Bird and her husband, Bill Bird, and they're sitting there, and the interviewer is awestruck by the fact that all of these children have bleach blonde hair, and some of them have red hair because Anne apparently is a natural redhead, but she dyed her hair blonde. So the interviewer asked them, he says, "Are you part of the Aryan nation, ma'am?" And she, of course, is like, "What is that? I don't understand. What is this, Germany? What are you speaking of Germany?" Girl, bye. She just, what she ends up saying is that, and I have to do it exactly the way she did it, "I just love the children. I love the children." Girl, I don't trust nobody with eyebrows like that. I don't trust nobody with eyebrows like that. We have to go back to the creation of the cult. Now, this was in the 50s and 60s when the cult was in its early stages, okay, when it was starting to be built up. And in Australia at that time, a lot of people who were well to do were very much into alternative spirituality. They were looking for other things to fulfill themselves. And Anne was one of them. So she actually got heavily into yoga and spirituality. And so she was determined that she was going to start teaching yoga. And that's what she did. She started teaching yoga. She had a class and she was teaching it and she started pulling them in, pulling them in. Apparently she had a lot of magnetism and people were just drawn to her, and women and men. She used her yoga class as like a teaching platform and like a recruitment place. So she was pulling these people in through that to the point where some people were calling her a reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Hmm. And when she was teaching, uh, they never alluded to the fact they were involved with each other, but she became connected with the master professor at Queen's College in Australia, Rayner Johnson. Now, Rayner Johnson was a learned man. I'm just going to say it like that. And people didn't know this, but he was obsessed with spirits, contacting spirits, and spirituality. They didn't know that. So when they met, it was perfect. It was was kismet with his connections in the college with all these well-to-do lawyers, doctors to be, lawyers to be. He was able to pull in all these people that were like just regular people, like your next door neighbors that were like into, they would have seances. Like they would go to each other's houses, have dinner, and then have a seance. Like that was a big deal. That was a thing. So people didn't know he was obsessed with that. So when he met her, they were like drawn to each other. Okay. She just had him. He started calling her master because she was Jesus Christ incarnate, right? She was Jesus Christ in female form. And that's when they got together and they started the Great White Brotherhood. Girl, bye. I'll just let you marinate on that one. I'll just put that there and you just okay. Because that's a lot. And they ended up changing it to the family. And good, but there were no black children and there were no black people. There were no none of that. Talk to some of these people. They said that it was that they were chosen. They felt chosen and that what Anne would tell people is that there were certain people that were going to make it through this apocalypse and the other type of people would not make it. They would not survive. And the people that were with her would survive. A part of her teachings, because what she did is she made a mishmash of all of these Eastern religions. And what the main thing was is that you were reincarnated. You were reincarnated several times over, several times you came back. And each time you did that, you accrued a debt of karma with every life. But she said that this would be your last life and that she would be the one to take away your debt. She was the one that would do that for you. But the only thing you had to do was everything she said. That's it and that's all. People did it. She told you where to move, who to marry, how you were supposed to act, and the children. This is the thing. This is where it gets a little because with the doctor having all of his connections with all these doctors and lawyers and people and nurses and all these things, they were stealing children. They were basically like a person would have a baby and they would literally like take it. Like it the doctor was part of the cult, the nurse was part of the cult. The nurse would either talk to the mother. She had people even just signing over their kids. People that were in the group actually just basically would just give her their kids so she would raise them so that she could raise them or she what she did is she had several other people in the group that were taking care of these children. They were called aunties and uncles. They were raising these children in the woods, and if you see them, it is Village of the Damned. That's exactly what it is. I need more beer. It is Village of the Damned. They would leave her and Bill. They would leave the compound, and these aunties and uncles, who were some of these kids' parents, but at that point they belonged to Anne and Bill. So they were training these kids and they were teaching the kids that not only was this your last reincarnated life, but that at one point there would be an apocalyptic thing that's going to happen and the world is going to come to an end. There will be floods and volcanoes and earthquakes and all these things would happen and the third world war and all these things and the aliens would come take the children until the earth was done with whatever it had to do. And then after that happened, the aliens would bring the children back, open up the spaceship. The kids would come out and re educate whatever was left of the earth. Girl, bye. That's what she told them. They said there was 28 children. When they investigated, they only found 14 to 15, but apparently on the property there were these little bitty crosses, like with Joshua and Abby and all these names, these kids' names. They had to go digging. They only found animal bones, like small and a few animal bones. So they're hoping that they were only pets, but they have a bunch of kids they can't account for. But that's what also was kind of confusing. Like, where are these children? Why is this not an investigation and inside of an investigation? I want to know where did 14, 15 other children that were supposed to be running around there? Now, what is that? I don't know, but I don't have the money to start a documentary. So there, I'm on YouTube. Okay, there you go. Now, what she would do with the children, they found in it after the raid, and they took the children out. The children were able to give them some insight on what was happening to them within the cult and the compound. Now, what was happening was they were very regimented. They would get up, they said they would get up early. There was meditation, there was yoga, there was breakfast, there was vitamins, then there was school, then there was meditation again, then there was yoga, then there was showers, then there was bedtime. And they were like, this was every single day of their life. That's how it was. They only ate vegetables. I think she said they had a plate of vegetables, and they would get that. Like one girl said, she got two Valiums in the morning and two Valiums toward the night. One kid was like he had LSD by the time he was 8. She would. It was something called a clearing. Okay, when she would clear you, you were 14 years old. She'd give you LSD, and then she would ask you, "Who is Jesus Christ?" You had to say that it was her. She also aligned herself with the head doctor at New Haven Mental Institution. Now, when she aligned herself with this doctor, this is the funniest. This is funny to me because what she was doing is there would be people that were well to do people, good people, but just maybe had something happen to them. They would go there. The doctor would give them LSD. They would sit there and have all these visions and all these hallucinations. And she would walk in the room and have a bucket of dry ice behind her. So all this smoke, this fake smoke, like smoke stuff would come out around her. Now just imagine tripping your balls off on LSD and you see somebody walk in with like a glow in all white, you're going to think she's Jesus Christ. So that became one of her number one places of recruitment. She would threaten everyone that if they didn't do exactly what she said, you know, it only takes two people to sign off for you to go to New Haven and you'll be locked away forever. I'm sorry. Don't cross me. That was Anne. That was Anne. That's what she did. And there's all these weird videos in the documentary of like this fake happiness because what she would do is she would film and make all these videos of propaganda of the kids just running around and singing and happy and wonderful when all the while these kids were being beaten. They were food was being withheld from them because of anything. And one of the kids said the rules were always changing. She never knew exactly what she was going to be in trouble for, so that therefore she was always on edge. There's one little story in there about a small animal that I can't bring myself to tell it. I just encourage you to watch the first episode and see how you feel. I mean, and see if you can actually take watching the whole thing. I'm just fast tracking it for you. Cliff notes. So yeah, it was very sad. And the kids were saying how they would, when they would pass places, they would look in the windows and see people and wonder if they were being treated the same way. And because it became just the norm for them, but they knew something wasn't right. And with her 28 kids and Bill, okay, let's get into Bill and how she got Bill. Because apparently she was so beguiling and seductive and she met Bill. He was married and had children. And he was like, you know, of course, it's Anne. She's a bad bitch. But he had this wife. And Anne was like, okay, I'm taking him. And his wife was like, no, you're not. Guess what happened to his wife? She got sent to New Haven, pumped full of drugs, And apparently, as the story goes, Anne one day just got fed up and walked in there and said, "Look, you know what? He's not your husband anymore. He's mine. Stay here and rot while I take your kids and your husband and stay here and give her some more. What other drugs are there? Give her those. She doesn't need to wake up." That and I haven't even watched the second and the third episode. I'm going along this with you as I drink this wonderful libation. And getting back to the children, we're not allowed to actually have relationships or friendships within the whole sect. They couldn't even talk to each other that much. Like if they saw that they were making a friendship, they would completely break it up. It's just sad all the way around. You know how sometimes you can see people and it's like they've gone through a lot of things and you go, "Wow, they look good." With these kids, you actually can tell, you can see the trauma. There's something about watching a grown man that has been through something very hard and he just doesn't look like the kind of person that would open up like that. And to see them break down into tears over their trauma and their treatment. A lot of them, I don't think any of the women actually broke down, but one of the men broke down, and it was over the beatings because they received a lot of beatings for no reason, like beatings and starvation. Really is kind of hard to watch them process what happened and what they went through. And then you cut to the end of the first installment, and one of the girls says, "I've had enough. I'm not doing this anymore." She jumps right out the window, runs down the road, follows a light till she gets to a neighbor's house, says, "Bam, bam, bam, let me in. I am done. Call the police." And they called them. And that's how the first one ends. I believe, well, it cuts to that and then it cuts out to, it repeats the audio of the rescue and the walkthrough. I do believe the second one goes more into Anne's background because there is a lot with this woman, and I can't wait to get into all of it and to let you in on all of it. I know it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad, but we're gonna get through all of it. Anne Hamilton Byrne. Give her a Googleation if you'd like to watch the Starz first episode. I will be hard at work on the second one. All right. Love you. You guys have a great day. Don't forget, Terrapins Beer Company out of Athens, Georgia. Awesome. And I will see you next week because I will be coming out with the next part 2 next week. Keep your sunshine bubbles intact. Don't hurt nobody. Don't let nobody hurt you. All right. Love you. Bye bye.